the Standard. And still focusing on some politics. Page 6 of the Daily Nation. Embattled Ongoro quits the Orange Party. And this happened within a span of 12 to 18 hours. Nominated Senator Elizabeth Ongoro, being disciplined by the ODM Disciplinary Committee. She was fined 1 million shillings for the chaos that saw 2 supporters die in Kasarani between her supporters and those of TJ Kajwang. But it did not seem to rattle her. She was on to the next party 24 hours later. Let's begin with you, Ndegwa. Your thoughts on this?
Michelle, I'm a bit uncomfortable with the way these things are done in this country. We have good laws, but we have very poor implementers of those laws. You see, why did the Political Parties Act have it that it would be proper for political parties to internally discipline their members? The purpose of that legislation was to clean our politics and sanitize our politics. So, if a person has committed a crime in ODM, it is still a crime in any other political party because that party has been registered pursuant to that particular Political Parties Act. So, if what Elizabeth Ongoro did in ODM was wrong in ODM, it should also be wrong in NASA. It should be wrong in TNA, it should be wrong in Jubilee, it should be wrong in ANC. So what we are seeing here is it's the inability to realize the institutions that we have created and to make the institutions work. The registrar of political parties should not have accepted the registration of Elizabeth Ongoro as a member of ANC. Why? Because she has failed in one political party. It's unfortunate that we have no seriousness in the political parties that we have established, and I agree with Dismas when he calls them special purpose vehicle. The law then needs to be amended probably to say that if you have been expelled in one policy, who is watching us, who is touching these issues, who is highlighting these issues? Because despite what she did, she will still become, she is now a candidate, she has been given a nomination certificate, and she's going to run for that seat.
Right. I mean, nobody likes calling political parties special purpose vehicles like you do. So the ODM train seems to have dropped Elizabeth Ongoro before her destination, and now she's boarded the ANC train, which is, hopefully going to take her where she wants to go. Question is, adding on to what Ndegwa says, what does this say about the opposition outfit, NASA? Because ANC, ODM, Wiper, Ford Kenya are all supposed to be somewhat in sync with regard to disciplining their members.
Let's look at the genesis of this matter. Elizabeth Ongoro wanted to run during the last elections, and she was prevailed upon by the ODM leadership to put her ambitions on a freezer. That's how she got the nomination. So I think she's been maximizing for the last 4 years, waiting to run in Ruaraka. And when she expresses her interest in public that I want to run in Ruaraka, somebody from the ODM headquarters says to her, wait a minute, you are not going to run. Our preferred candidate is TJ Kajwang. So, of course, she goes to Orange House to demonstrate and say what is happening, wanting to establish facts, and in the process causes a commotion. And we go back to the fact that our political parties, as you say, special purpose vehicles, they're not institutions. Because who gives ODM the powers to tell a member who wants to run in Ruaraka that, wait a minute, you cannot run in Ruaraka. However, go select another constituency you want to run. Maybe you can go run in Mathare, you can go run in Malindi, wherever it is. I think for Elizabeth Ongoro, her constitutional rights were violated at ODM. Because if you want to run in Ruaraka and you meet the bare minimum, why can't they allow her to go to Ruaraka and do the primaries with TJ Kajwang? So that once her name has been gazetted and she gets a beating, now she can't move to another political party unless she wants to run as an independent. For me, I would appreciate what Ongoro has done. And all politicians in Kenya are very crafty. I would actually, if I was running for a political seat, and in my political party that I've been supporting for a long time, if they tell me that I can't run in a constituency that I so desire, I'll look for an alternative. But you see now that's the information in the public domain. However, we know from inside sources that there are personal differences between Elizabeth Ongoro and some people of rank within ODM. That's the reason why nobody wants her to take an elective seat. However, when you look at the NASA, whether or not they're a cohesive body, whether or not they can implement discipline across the board, Ongoro is not the first person. You recall Kenya's High Commissioner to Tanzania, Ali Chirao Makwere. When he resigned, he came to Kenya. He was received by Governor Joe. He was in ODM. A few days later, he jumped to Wiper. So we don't have that discipline. And it tells you that the current crop of leadership we have, their interest is not to serve Wanjiku. Their interest is to run for public offices, and they want to stay at some powerful position. That's why you see, like, for instance, when Sakaja wanted to run for governor for Nairobi, when it was not possible, he decided to go and run for Senate. A clear indication that anybody running for political office today is not running because he's got some powerful philosophies that are going to take Kenya to the next level. No, they're merely interested in political office, number one. And then number two, maybe we should just disband these political parties in Kenya and allow everybody to run as an independent. Because, you know, every Kenyan is a taxpayer. You work hard, you make some money, it's, you know, KRA takes a portion of it, gives it to ODM, and Raila Odinga decides to use the money as he so desires without respect to the Kenyan constitution. And I really think that's bad political manners. And maybe the reason why we need to look at that chapter 6 again. And earlier on you were asking, what happened to chapter 6? Chapter 6 was diluted by members of parliament because they know that chapter 6, as it's captured in the constitution, without the accompanying acts, they would actually not make it because most of them are in charge of CDF funds, and they've played around with those resources. That's why they said that even if you're found guilty by a lower court, you can still run to office till you've exhausted all appeal mechanisms.
Right.
And these guys, they know how to play with the system to ensure that a case can take as long as 20 years. Like, for instance, and may his soul rest in peace, David Mwiraria has died, and we don't know what happened to Anglo leasing, and we don't know whether or not he stole, and we don't know whether or not somebody is going to be punished for that.
May I say something,
yes, please
Michelle, while still on it? That I don't know whether Kenyans are also desirous of having good leadership. I don't know. Because they seem to ride, and you'll see hooliganism is where people are so much jovial. That's where they celebrate much. The question is there any time that meritocracy shall ever matter in the Kenyan politics? That's a debate probably that needs to be sparked. We have good laws. The question is how and who is going to help us